Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. Welcome to Coffee, Tea, You and Me with Coach Powell. I am Coach Powell. I've been doing this show now for close to 20 years. And previously, before I started doing it live as a result of COVID-19, we did this at the local Panera Bread. And we gathered entrepreneurs from all over Northern Virginia, where we're located, that would sit down every week and discuss issues that related to them, things that they were concerned about, things they were passionate about. And I like to bring to the table, now that I've kind of done the show as a result of COVID, I'm starting to bring more talent, more professionals, more people in front of you all, in front of the audience here, that has just exploded the whole universe when it comes to what we're doing. We're not just located in Northern Virginia now. We get people from all over the world who jump on the live call, become a part of this thing, and it's taken on a role in and of itself. I'm so proud and happy to be able to serve the entrepreneurship community in this way. I am actually the chairman of the Small Business Commission for the County of Fairfax, Virginia, which is one of the most diverse counties in the country. And trying to look out for small businesses in Northern Virginia and the Fairfax area this way is a tremendous burden that I enjoy. Like it's a joyful opportunity for me to be able to assist people in finding out how to get the right loans, or how to get the right financing options, or how to get to whatever they need to get to grow their business. I understand that the Small Business Administration is out there, and there are thousands of different organizations that serve the small business community. And so sometimes it's just pointing you in the right resource, but also it's letting you know that it's okay to use certain resources. And I understand that when you're talking about small women-owned, minority-owned businesses, it's more than just knowing where to go. It's being comfortable going there to get the information that you got to get. So these are the things that I'm all about, because I understand and believe that the entrepreneurship community is the most important community that we're going to advance from a socioeconomic and political point of view. And the more we commit to it, the more we do it, the more I commit to it, the more I do it, the more I fall in love with this community and this opportunity to grow, to help others grow and develop their business. Now, my coaching practice focuses around three key, I would say, energies, right? First, it's focus, it's productivity, and of course, it's energy. And so if you try to figure out, what you're trying to get done, most people try to go, well, I hit a wall, I don't know where to go. That's when they call somebody like me, because I'm literally going to be dialed into what it takes to get you off of whatever you're in and into whatever you need to do, so that you can move yourself forward quickly. And I'm doing some research right now and studying the science and the art of breakthrough, and I can't wait to talk to you about some of that we're going to fold in today's discussion. Okay, so who do we have today? You are going to be blown away by the talent and the character of the individuals I have on my all-star guest panel today. I have to figure out what to call people when I bring up to this, because it's not just the all-star guest panel. These people are just superchargers in terms of what you can learn from them and how you can engage with them. And it's going to be really a magical moment that we put together every single Friday. And I'm so proud. Today's guest is life coach. I call him my brother Bond, right? The life coach, James Bond, is here today from Texas, and he's got a wealth of experience in all realms of business, small and large. He's just been there, done that, whatever you can think about that has seen, that has happened. He's seen it, he's heard it, he's been about it, and he's resolved it, right? He's looked at, and he can teach you how to move the needle, how to keep the thing moving forward and keep your life moving forward in your business. Now, I have to tell you, he and I talked about back, and he is no joke. So don't even start playing with Brother Bond if you're not ready to play. He's like people who plays hard. He's like me. I like to win. And if you work with me, you gotta want to win. If you don't want to win, I don't want to play. You can't be on my team if you're not about winning. And so, I know him. He's back there nodding. He's all about what I'm sharing right with you and I. So he's going to be coming up, and then Miss Chris Powell. Oh my God, I can't tell you how impressive she's been. So if you look at, I cyber stalk her and her husband all the time. So I know about what they're doing on Facebook and LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. And these are they're wonderfully talented people. She's involved now with doing and creating more training and development for people, helping making sure that people understand, the business and the understanding of what it takes to develop your skills, your talent. It's just a tremendous opportunity. Her husband, Dr. Powell, I like to call him cousin Powell, but he's not really cousin. But we're gonna find that relationship at some point. I tell you right now, we might not be related in terms of actual genetic relationship, but we're definitely related in terms of how we think and what's going down. And Chris and him are just a dynamic duo and a team that I can't say that just amazing to see. Black love and husband and wife working together. They're in the same industry now, so it's like, watch out, world, because this is going to be amazing. So I'm looking forward to having Chris on as well. So you guys are going to love her as well. I'm going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come right back so you can see what's going on here. I like to put my little branding information up so you can see how I got good people. I love that little intro. My boy put that together for me. It's just like, oh wow, this is cool. I'm gonna use this, and I'm all getting used to all this technology and video stuff. So I'm like a kid in the candy shop, like, ooh, look at that, ooh, look at that. So it's always fun to do that. Anyhow, this is the show today. Welcome to Coffee to You and Me. I'm glad you're here. Today we got an all-star guest panel in store for you. But I want to remind the guests that you can follow this on Facebook. You can follow this show on YouTube. I would ask that you do so. Anytime you want to, share, thumbs up, whatever you want to do, go ahead and do that on those platforms. I love to get as much engagement going as possible. So if you have a question or something that you want to share, go ahead and drop that in the chat. Make sure that you tell us, where you're coming from, how long you've known us, or what you've gotten out of the show. That's great. If you have a question about something, just go ahead and drop it in the chat. There will be time when I will go back and I will see all the questions, right? And then we'll try to respond. And we're not going to put all the audience members on camera. But if you have a question for one of our guest speakers, please feel free to direct that question to them. I'll make sure they relay it to them, and we'll talk about it. We'll come up with some answers for you. This is not a place for you to sit back and be shy and not get the answers that you came here to get. This is not something I want you to just be a voyeur and take a look at. I want you to get involved. I want you to ask the questions. When I did this live, I would force people, literally, if you came to the table, you could not leave the table and not ask a question, because I think that, questions, well, actually, no, that questions get your brain involved and your heart and mind engaged in a way that nothing else does. And if you got a question, start formulating it right now and definitely throw it in the chat. Tell us who you are, what you're all about. Today's topic is all about having personal meetings that actually work. A personal meeting that you have with somebody who could potentially be a mentor, could be a coach for you, could be an advisor or consultant, could be a friend. A personal meeting is the way to begin to energize the opportunity that you may have. And everybody that you are brought in, and I actually believe this, everybody that's brought into your world is brought into your world to transfer something to you, either a warning or an opportunity. And you need to spend the correct time it takes to really understand what that's all about, which is the first 4 steps in my program. It is all about, one, listening, right? Learning how to listen to other people, learning how to listen to the universe, learning how to listen to what's going on around you so that you figure out, what is being communicated to you by other people effectively so that you can decide, okay, how I'm going to act. Okay, and then the next thing is you got to make a promise. You got to do something. You got to say something. You got to commit to something that's going to drive the next step in the relationship. If you meet somebody and they said wonderful things and you said glorious things and everything is going on, everybody's hot and popping, right? Now you got to figure out what to do next, and you got to make a commitment to do something. Either that's hit follow up, send a message, create a document, talk about something that you shared, whatever that is. You got to make a promise to expose yourself, your talent to them in some kind of way. You got to be okay with being upfront with that promise. I want to do this for you. Will you like that? Will you share it? Will it be something that'd be interesting to you? And if so, let's make it happen. Then you got to follow up and follow through. That's step number 3. If you don't follow up and follow through, then everything is done. You started something wonderful. You started something nice, but now you have no place to go with it because it's done. So you have to follow up and follow through. If something was serious, if something that was, it all talks about your interest, it talks about your passion, but how serious were you when you made the promise? If it was a serious promise, a solemn promise, then you follow up and you follow through. A lot of people drop the ball right there. But now you follow up and follow through. What's next? You have to make some valuable connections with that person. Maybe you spend the time, maybe you had the first meeting with them and you exchange some valuable information back and forth that drove a need for you to continue to work together on something, some project, some system, some strategy, right? So now's where we get to the next level, right? How do you have those personal meetings? How do you have those personal meetings that are going to continue and drive the relationship forward? Most people meet for a reason, right? They meet because they want to extend themselves. They meet because they want to try to figure out how they can make a transaction happen or accomplish a goal or an objective. All right. But the kind of personal meetings that last involve so much more, and we're going to talk about that in the discussion period. How do you make those meetings work? How do you make those meetings continue to work? How do you grow personally and professionally as a result of those personal meetings? And that's what we're going to talk about. That's today's topic. But before we get into the topic, we're going to introduce the panel. Like I said earlier, these are some phenomenal people that we bring to the table today. Oh my God. I'm so glad that they wanted to spend some of their valuable time with you. And I'm going to suggest to you, my listening audience, do not take this time for granted. Whether you're watching this on a recording or you're watching this live, get engaged, pay attention, ask the questions that you know that these people have the answers to. And I promise you, this will not be for naught. This will be something that will be valuable to you, something that you can carry forward. Okay, starting with my good friend and life coach, Mr. James Bond. James is a super talent. He's coming to you live from Texas. He is the life coach of the life coaches. I will consider him a master coach. I don't know if he has that certification or anything like that, but I can tell you he has the skills already. And so we don't need to have the designation when we have the talent and the ability. The designation just gets you a little bit more extra sauce on it, right? That's all that is. So here's Mr. Life Coach, Mr. James Bond. Tell him all about yourself, Brother Bond.
I am Bond, James Bond, the best life coach.
Oops. That was my fault. Start again.
Okay. That's okay. I'm Bond, James Bond, the best life coach on planet Earth. Why? Because the great I am said that I am. I need no one else's approval. This is a calling. It's not a hobby. It's not a side gig. It's not a side job. Something I do for extra income. It is what I do, what I am put on earth to do, what I was born to do. My company is welldrivenlife.com. When your life starts to suck, personally or professionally, and just doesn't make sense sometimes, I'm the person you call. I'm that person that's sent. I'm that person that is sent to get you from A to B. Again, I'm that person that is sent. Been doing this is my 13th year of full-time coaching. Again, not a hobby. It is my calling. A lot of people just don't realize you have to make sure you understand why you're here. I can help you find why you're here. Why you do what you do, I can help you with that. The difference in your talent and your gift, the difference in those, not the same thing, by the way. A difference in your job and your work, which are also not the same thing. So I'm glad to be on the show today, and I really appreciate my brother, Coach Powell, for having me in here. Yeah, you are gifted to be able to be on this site today, to be able to view this show. Because if you don't take notes, then that will be your issue. So take notes, pay attention, hang on for the ride, because it will be the ride of your life. Coach Bond, James Bond.
Outstanding. Let me just tell you, like I said, this brother and I had about a half an hour chat for the first time, and it's like old friends. I can't even, when you used to have something that special connection with somebody, it's just amazing. And it's great to have you on the show. Thank you so much. I'm going to bring up right now. In fact, I just let the audience know my brother Henry Hunter has joined us, and we're going to talk a little bit about him in just a minute as soon as we get Henry back on camera. And we're going to introduce Chris first, and then we're going to introduce Henry. Henry already knows how to introduce himself. I already know that because I taught it to him. And so we'll be seeing him in just a little bit. Okay, let's talk about Miss Chris Powell. Like I said earlier, Chris is just a supercharger. She's now involved in the training and development world herself, and I'm going to let her introduce Miss herself to you. Hey, Chris, show us what you're working with, baby.
Hey, good afternoon, good people. Thank you, Coach Powell, for having me on today. Like you said, Coach Powell said, my name is Kiris Powell, and I am in the learning and development profession. I've been working in that field for about 20 years now. I help organizations figure out and understand what their workforce needs to learn and what is the best way for them to learn these things. Um, I hail from the mighty city of Detroit, originally born and raised in Michigan, and relocated here to Virginia in about 2005 and have been working in a variety of government industries in the training and development, learning and development space as a consultant. Um, I also, as a little side side hustle, if you will, I am a jazz artist. I occasionally perform here in the local Northern Virginia area with a group called Common Ground, and so you might see me out and about with the group. Occasionally, we do performances at Bourbon Boulevard in Chantilly. We've also done a few performances at Epicure Cafe and some private engagements here and there around the town. So just a little fun thing that I also do. And I'm also just looking forward to hearing all the fantastic and wonderful things that um, Coach Powell and Coach Bond are going to talk about in today's session. And I'm going to turn it back over to you. And I look forward to how much fun we're going to have today.
Oh my God, I had forgotten. We got a songbird in the room
Oh my
today.
God, don't make me do it.
This girl, let me just tell you, she is amazing. If you can stalk her like I do on Facebook, go ahead and do that because you'll get a chance to just get a sense for what she brings to the table when it comes to that. Because I've seen some of her stuff, I've
Yeah,
listened to some of her stuff. She is super talented. So
thank you.
good to have you, Chris. I will not make you sing.
Okay, good. Because I'm in work mode. It's
I
gonna
won't make.
take me. I
I'm
got
not
to get
gonna.
my
I'm not
mind
gonna.
right first.
I'm not gonna make you do it.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, somebody might ask you a question that you may have to
Um,
respond to in song. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. All right, here
I
we
got
go. Here comes Brother Hunter, Henry Hunter. Henry and I have known each other for years. He's been a part of our networking organization, the Roundtable. He's an amazingly talented genius. He has created an app that I think is going to blow the doors off of anything that you were doing for lead generation, for using LinkedIn or anything like that. Henry Hunter is just an amazing genius, and I'm looking forward to having him participate in the discussion. He has had to have a tremendous amount of personal meetings to get his company going, to keep life going, and all that kind of stuff, and really in order to develop new relationships and create them, make them work. And so Henry's got a lot to share about everything he's doing. Henry, why don't you introduce yourself to the people?
Oh, well, good afternoon, everyone. To further introduce myself, my name is Henry Hunter. Basically, I want to say thank you to the
Ah,
call.
I'm
To
sorry,
the
Henry.
call.
I'm
That's
gonna make you
okay.
start all over again, Henry. And I
Okay.
actually remove me instead of you from the screen. How about that?
No problem, Coach Powell. All right. Well, just to further introduce myself, my name is Henry Hunter, and I've known Coach Powell for a long while now, and he's helped me work through my pitch, through networking. Just great gentleman all around. But basically, if you work in B2B sales, you have a quota to attain. You probably have a problem of getting leads because you can't find the right contacts. So what I'm working on is building a sales networking community that helps you find contacts and get meetings with people who sell to other businesses in the same market or sales territory. And you can use your sales connections to trade names, information, and leads. So want to thank you guys for having me on the call today. Look forward to the conversation.
Okay. This is going to be super exciting. Like I said, we're going to get this party started real quick. I'm going to talk to you about all things personal meetings for a few minutes, and then I'm going to let our team and our superchargers back there talk a little bit about what reflections they have when it comes to personal meetings they may have had in the past or anything like that. But before we get started on the details, let's just connect with our panelists right away. Here's the question. Have you ever had a personal meeting that was so amazing with somebody, vis-a-vis maybe a coaching session or interview or any type of personal meeting where even somebody who may have intended to sell you something? Have you had a personal meeting with anyone that was so amazing that you could maybe share something about it? Anybody? And if you got some thoughts on that, our panel, just go ahead and raise your hand and we'll bring you on and we can discuss that. If not, it's no. Go ahead. My buddy, Mr. Bond, go ahead. Tell us about it. What happened?
Yes, it was funny actually. I was sent to a company in California, referral, to go and do the leadership development training. So I'm sitting with the CEO. He's like, yeah, I heard about you, where you referred to us. So as we spoke, we realized that we had lived in the same place at the same time at some point in our life. We had exactly the same passions, shoes and cars. And so our meeting was supposed to be 10 minutes. We were late into the conference room because we were talking about an hour and 10 minutes. And he actually wound up referring me out to his whole entire circle pretty much. Just one of those things where you got to make sure that you be intentional about your conversation with people. The trick I use with people and I teach people now is to write down 2 questions about who you be talking to. One question could be simple. Why are they where they are? Next question is going to be, why do they stay where they are? Those are the 2 questions you ask if you don't know what to ask. So for me, it turned out to be an incredible and lucrative conversation by taking that time just to be me, not to put on airs, just to start talking about where you're from, where you live. So that's why it wound up being a phenomenal training session, because at that point, people already have referrals. So you kind of got to buy in a little bit there. But when they connect on that other level, their ears are wide open and their hands are just writing and writing and writing. So it's always a good thing. So make sure you go to meeting. Again, if you can't have questions to ask or don't know what to ask, why are they there and why do they stay there? Coach
I think
Bond.
one of the most significant things that I can remember happening to me, and almost every time I traveled when I was a young person and I was traveling by bus or train or plane, inevitably, I think God would place somebody sitting right next to me that we would have a deep and meaningful conversation. And I'm thinking, like, how does this happen?
That's right.
Why does it every time I'm traveling, sometimes I'm an introvert. I would rather be left alone.
Yeah.
But eventually, I'm traveling with somebody and they'll ask me a question about who I am or what I do. And then I'll share something with them and I'll ask them a question and they'll share something with me and back and forth and back and forth. And I leave that conversation or that trip with having sometimes for hours, like having some of the most powerful conversation with an individual that I didn't even know that I was going to meet in that day. And I realized that if I was prepared in that conversation, something meaningful could have happened moving forward.
Correct.
That did not happen because I didn't expect to have that conversation and I wasn't ready.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And so now I teach, people that I work with all the time, be ready, always be ready. Yes. Because you never know when you may meet the person with an opportunity or develop some kind of level of trust that's so magnificent that if you do not do something about it, in this moment, it's forever lost. I've had conversations with people and I can't even remember their name, but I will never forget that conversation. I will never forget that moment. Do any of our panelists have anything that they want to share about any of that? Because I'm gonna move into the topic. If you don't have anything to bring to the table, no problem. Here we go. All right. So thank you so much for bringing that to the table, Brother Bond. And we're going to talk now about some of the details associated with the current research on what it takes to really have the ability to have personal meetings that work really, really well. And as I was starting to put together the training materials for the 9 Steps to Mastery, I came up with a couple of thoughts that I want to share with you all. And I'm going to give you 2 quotes. One is from John Joseph Powell, who is the author of The Secret of Staying in Love, and the other one is straight from the Bible. And I want to explore those with you so that you can figure out, kind of what the meaning might be behind what I'm going to tell you next, which is literally the 4 techniques to creating masterful strategy sessions. Okay, here's the first quote. This is John Joseph Powell. What Powell says is, "It is an absolute human certainty that no one can know his beauty or perceive a sense of his own worth until it has been reflected back to him in the mirror of another loving, caring human being." Let me break it down one more time. It is an absolute human certainty that no one can know his or her own beauty or perceive sense of his or her own worth until it has been reflected back to him or her in the mirror of another loving, caring human being. Let that stick with you for a second. Now, in the book of Acts, chapter 2, verse 42, the word says, "They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship and to the breaking of bread and to prayer." So when you look at all those things, all those particular quotes in there, if you get involved with any of the training I do for any of this kind of stuff, you're going to get lots of quotes, lots of connections to research, and lots of ancient philosophy and thought process, because I like to bring a whole level of thinking into everything I present to anybody, right? And so from those quotes, you can break down some other things that are really, really important when you're going to have personal meetings with someone. Number one, you're going to need to respect their time, their authenticity, and the focus that they have to bring to the table. Now, what do we mean by this? People, time is finite, right? We only have so much to deliver. We only have so much to give. We only have so much to share, and we must respect it. We must know that the talking about blubber, talking about things to people, once you've gotten past that initial phase of relationship, talking to them about superficial things like the weather or the local football game or whatever's going on, that does have nothing to do with that relationship, and why that relationship is existing, may be considered something that's not valuable. And so you have to think about that. What are you actually sharing with the person that you're talking to that has value, not just to you but to them? If you're not thinking that way, you're not gonna automatically share or present anything that's going to be of interest to them, or something of meaning and that represents to them. And I'm going to keep coming back to this thought process: meaning, relevance, and significance. These are the things that we have. These are the things that we can share with one another, right? So if you don't respect their time enough to talk to them about and keep talking to them about things that are meaningful, relevant, and significant to them, you're going to miss the opportunity. You have to be authentic. If you are not authentically interested in the person that you're working with, not just the goal you're trying to get to, not just the program you're trying to run, not just the product you're trying to sell, but if you're not authentically interested in them as a person, there's not going to be a whole bunch of reasons for them to want to talk to you, meet with you, be with you after you've accomplished the things you want to accomplish. And so make sure that you respect that authenticity of not just what you're trying to do, but what is destiny calling to you? What is the meaning of this? When it's all said and done, what are you going to be able to have, be, or do because of this connection, this relationship? And then there's focus. We all have attention spans, right? And there may be, we might get into some detailed information and be good with that, but we may have to stay at a high level, strategy level information, and then be good with that. And you have to know what kind of energy each of you are bringing to the table, what kind of ability you have to focus, what kind of ability do you have to bring something special or unique, and how can you provide the attention required in order for that to be meaningful. That's rule number one. Rule number two, you got to love mutual accountability partnerships. And I mean love. I don't mean like, I don't mean enjoy. I mean love. Because if you're not willing to submit yourself to another person, if you're not willing to say to another person, I'm going to make a promise, I'm going to make a commitment, and then honor that promise and commitment in a way that that person can feel and understand that you have done what you've been asked to do, and you've done what is expected of you in a way that's meaningful, significant, and relevant, right? Then you're not doing an honor to the partnership. You're not doing an honor to the relationship. So when you think about any meetings you would have with someone, how do you plan to show up, in a mutual accountability way? How do you plan to do what you promised to do the last time you met? How do you plan to do it? Because that's your style, right? That is how you do what you do, who you are, how you represent the things and ideas that you bring to the table. And if you do it in a way that's not productive to the other person, then you're not really speaking their love language, right? That's why I said love, mutual accountability, partnership. We got to get there. Number 3, you have to be willing to share real resources and talent. Now, when I think of resources, I automatically think of the 3 T's, right? Time, talent, treasure. These are things that we all have. We all have time, and our willingness to share it with somebody else, and be patient with somebody else, be attentive with somebody else in our time is something that we have to, decide we want to share. We want to give that to somebody. Attention is something we want to give to people, right? And then there's resources. Resources, anything we value. Could be anything. Could be money. Could be other connections. It could be, something that you could trade. Maybe you might be willing to go into debt to create some level of concept or partnership or relationship with this other person because they need the financial resources. Who knows what it is, the resources? Maybe you have an excess of something that you don't need anymore. It's still valuable to the other person. And so you can share that with them. That could create some other resources for them. Who knows? Also, there's talent. Talent itself is a resource. It's valuable, is measured by not just your ability to do something, your logic, or whatever. It's also valuable by the level in which it can be meaningful, significant to other people. So you have to ask yourself, what talent do I possess that might be meaningful, significant, and relevant in this partnership that I'm trying to establish and continue establishing with this person? The last thing I want to tell you about is you have to be willing to embrace what I call deep intuition. There has to be a mission, reason. There has to be a dedication to a spiritual connection, if you will, to working with this person. And once you've reached that level, then you're going to enjoy wanting to continue to work with this person. Now, do you have to have these kinds of meaningful connections and relationships with anybody and everybody? No, you don't, and you can't. But you do have to have them with people that you would want to see bring into your inner circle. All right, these are people that you're willing to share intimacies with. These are people that you're willing to say without question that you are affiliated and you are associated with this individual, and you mean something to them and they mean something to you. If that doesn't exist, then really you're not going to have what I call, and this is a new term that I just came up with, and I really would like to have your reflections on this. It is a new term that I developed just today, as a matter of fact, called, where is it? Where did sometimes I can't find my own stuff. Give me just a second here. There it is. Okay, so the new term, you ready? This is the term. It's called connectorship. And connectorship is a movement of people that you purposefully involve all 6 levels of fellowship. And a lot of times in business, we don't bring that word fellowship into what we're doing and how we're doing it. And we suffer as a result of doing that, thinking that we're just going to be with each other for the project. We're just going to be with each other for the task at hand. We're just going to be with each other for this. But if you add fellowship into whatever reason you have to connect, I'm calling it connectorship, right? Then you're going to have these levels of fellowship. It's going to involve communion, which means you're going to be sharing and exchanging intimate thoughts and feelings. It's going to involve camaraderie, which means you're going to have a mutual trust and you're going to be willing to spend some time together. You're not going to be hesitant to spend time together. You're going to love spending time together. It's going to involve cooperation, which means you're going to have a mutual assistance in working towards a common goal, right? And that goal could be off in the future. That goal could be right there in front of you. It doesn't matter, but you're going to continue. Even if you're going to set a new goal, you're going to have that cooperative thing. Now there's also solidarity going to have to be involved, right? You have to agree on a feeling or action of common interest. There needs to be some social ability, right? You have to be amiable, friendly, and cordial to one another. And then finally, you must be affiliated with each other. And these are, making sure that the connections that you have, the attachment that you are actually proud of, and it is a part of you, and you are a part of it, right? So it's not something that you would hide from anybody who would ever ask you. Are you affiliated with this person? Your answer has to be absolutely yes, I am, because let me just tell you, they're some greatest things since sliced cheese, right? So if you don't have that level of communion, camaraderie, cooperation, solidarity, sociability, and affiliation, you don't have a true connectorship. And you want to have that in meetings, your personal meetings with people that you want in your inner circle, people that you want to keep coming back to over and over and over again for whatever that is in your development, whether that is, again, like you need the 5 roles, right? You might need a coach, you might need a friend, you might need a consultant, you might need an advisor, and you might need somebody who just gives you the support and the financial assistance. Other than that, these are things that you have to bring to the table when you're working with people. So when you think about it, I'm going to ask my panel to jump in here with anything they would think about when it comes to developing better personal relationships related to what we just discussed, or you have anything brand new that you want to bring to the table, or in any level of discussion at all. I'm picking on you, Chris, because you're leaning in.
You see me leaning in. I agree with everything you said. Interestingly, earlier today, I was working on a project dealing with meetings, but in a hybrid environment, and how to engage in that kind of environment that we're in. And a lot of people are looking for ways to network and build relationships and work together and collaborate. And it can be difficult if you haven't made any upfront agreements the way you've described here. And so one of the biggest things I've learned here is one big word is, I think, is psychological safety. That's another term that's coming out.
Emotional safety.
Yeah, and just being able to contribute in a meeting where you feel safe to be able to share ideas and be vulnerable, and 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 just collaborate and get involved with people. And it's kind of tough doing this in the screen because you can't always jump in, and you can't always be heard. But that's one thing. And the difference between equity and equality, those are the two big things that I learned, in communicating in these kinds of environments. And so I'll leave you with that, and I'll let some of the other panelists chime in.
It's so interesting you should say that, because I was listening to Berna. I forget her last name, but she's the new DEI person at Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Sister Supercharger. She is amazing, and she said this thing, that always reflects back to exactly what you just said. It's one thing to be invited to the table. It's another thing to be wanted. Right.
Yeah.
So people don't have interest in you, then they're not going to pay attention to you.
Right.
And it's very, very important that they have that. The reason why I brought you all onto the screen just now is because I know that Coach Bond and I were talking about networking earlier, and Henry and I kind of met networking. I know you've met people in your life and in your business that basically could care less about you.
That's right. That's right.
And they don't even know that they should.
That's right. That's right.
Which is interesting. Okay, so how do you get over that hump? How do you get past that that level of disconnect? Because if you're black, if you're a woman, if you're a minority, if you're disadvantaged in any way, shape, or form, then people have you in a box. Sometimes you have yourself in that box.
Yeah.
How do you get around it? How do you help people understand that you have something of value?
Well, for me, I'm also a executive board member for minorities in business state of Missouri. So it's funny when we go out and try to, you raise funds for events and so forth. It's interesting how the first thing that people ask you, oh, minorities. So that's like blacks in business? No, it's anybody that's underrepresented, women, There's Asian Americans, there's Latina Americans, there's Latino Americans, so you have to explain. But the benefit to that now, people, you get mad about it, but the benefit, now I've gotten a 5-minute elevator conversation for free. So you got to make sure you always look at what God has presented to you, not just the opportunity to get mad and upset or irritated, but an opportunity to explain to people who, guess what, especially Midwest, who may have never heard that before. So you got to make sure you take advantage of opportunities, because that now I explain, oh, wow, it's kind of, oh, now, and then you let them know up front too, that I know that every company in the United States has a fund set aside for that. So I need that fund for our, so now you can kind of, lay a little bit on them, so to speak, but also get your point across. So yeah, it's definitely a matter of letting people know and not being so quick to be offensive, because the fact of the matter is most people just don't know.
One of the things, and I didn't think this conversation was going to go in this direction, but I'm glad that it did, because one of the things I struggled with earlier in my professional life was understanding what the need for diversity was. Because all of my training, right, that to that point had taught me that people work better together when they think alike. And people who think alike tend to, not have any issues working together. They tend to work together better. And I like, this diversity thing is a problem. It's not the answer to anything. But it wasn't until I grew into my profession, I grew a little more, I began to understand that, wait a minute, if you're going to want to innovate, if you're going to want to bring new perspectives to the table, if you're going to want to, come up with something that's new and shiny and really ready, you're going to need all these diverse ideas coming from these different diverse, groups. And today, one of the biggest diversities is not just racial diversity. It is not generational diversity. It's like, we have 4 different people in the groups of people in the workplace, and they're all human. That's what they all share. But man, how they receive information, how they process information, how they grow. I mean, Kiris was in the meeting today, and I promise you, one of the things they discussed about was like, okay, how do we work differently for Gen Z versus Gen X and Gen Y and the baby boomers and all that kind of stuff. It is a tremendous opportunity to see when we talk about diversity truly, what do we mean? How is this going to flow with the gender diversity and the racial diversity and the age disparity? Baby boomers are getting discriminated against because they just old, and I'm like, wow, a little gray hair might be something I might want to do some work on that, make sure that people can't tell, I don't know. But it's fun stuff. Our common humanity, though, is something that we have to talk about, I think. If we don't talk about it, every time we get a chance to talk about it, we may lose that in the diversity. Trying to reach for this, that, and the other, because, there's still a lot to learn from, I think, everybody. But we have to be willing and open to listening and learning. That's why I know my boy Henry it's an amazing person, because he's always looking for, like, how can I be better? How can we do this better? How can we make this better? Tell me, give me and he wants your real opinion. He don't want you just to sugarcoat it and say whatever he wants to say. He wants your real opinion, your real thoughts, your real ideas. Why don't you tell us about that, Henry?
Yeah. So I think this topic on diversity is interesting. I won't go too deep in it, but I'll just say it all started with food. When you think about it, right? So if I grew up in a time where if somebody made a plate of food, you're supposed to accept that plate of food. Today, you can't accept the plate of food. You have to actually think about all of the different cultures that you're at the table with and what their needs are. And then you have to have some consensus on what food is going to be eaten at the table, which, you can expand off of that however you want, but, that's a huge change. And going back to the earlier conversation of, when you're meeting with someone and you're having this personal meeting, you might have been invited, you might have invited them, everybody has an idea of sort of what they want to get out of the other person on the surface. But one of the things that I try to ask people when we meet today is, hey, we're here, we invited each other. When we walk away from this table, what outcome are we trying to achieve when we walk away? Because it's kind of like being in a sales meeting. You don't want to go to the meeting to try and close a deal, and when you walk away, your sales manager says, hey, what happened at the meeting? How come you didn't get the next meeting? And you don't know why, right? So you have to be able to walk away and know why, or what the next step is going to be, to just keep the conversation going. Because one of the things that I've learned in leadership in the workforce is just that when the communication distance breaks down, that's when everything else breaks down. When people are uncertain, when they're hearing one thing, and then next thing you know, they don't hear anything, and then next thing you know, people are being laid off, or whatever the case may be. So it's those are just my opinions on the topic.
That's brilliant. I got to pop a question to you guys. And you're going to love this question or you're going to hate this question, right? There's people, and I know this to be true, that when you get the chance to share your loves and your passions in a meeting with a person, there are people who will take that and go, oh my God, that is so crazy. I love that too, right? And your conversation then takes a turn in a different direction. And, my question to my panelists, how do you guys feel about this? I already know, right? A couple things about, Chris, the fact that she is a jazz artist, right? And she puts it out there. She'll tell you, I'm a jazz artist, right? If you go, really? Why not bluegrass? Or, is it something else? Really? That's all? Or you counter and go, yes, and I love rock and roll. All of these things will engender different feelings that will show up in your meeting. You might want to talk to this person more, or you might want to never talk to this person again because they threw shade on the thing that you were passionate about. But in order for them to get to know you and feel you, you kind of have to share what you're passionate about. Or when they come back and say, hey, Chris, I'm going to give you a gift, and it's going to be tickets to a Led Zeppelin concert. And she's kind of obligated to say thank you, even though, just like Henry said, this ain't the right food for her. Has anybody ever presented you all with some information or some ideas that actually means they actually weren't listening to you and don't care about you? Has it ever happened?
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, somebody got to tell me a story.
I couldn't tell you any one specific story, but it happens more often than you probably consciously think about it. Because I think all of us come into, meetings. When we show up to a meeting, everybody is showing up with a personal intent and an outcome that they want to see. But, we all have meetings with ourselves, and we don't invite the other person to that meeting. And then when it doesn't turn out the way we were envisioning, then we're trying to figure out, okay, well, what happened? Or, you learn something new, about someone that you weren't looking for. You weren't looking for that piece of information. You were looking for some other information. So I don't know any one specific story, but, I do know that I've been in numerous meetings where I'm explaining something, and you could just read the other person is in another meeting somewhere else. So
yeah.
So there's no real connection. So you don't have a connection. You actually don't know where to go after that, and it's like, okay. And then later on you might say, oh, you know what? I just wasted my time.
So this is Malaysian, but I'm gonna put that on the back burner, right? Dr. Powell, tell us, what happened?
I've been a lot more meetings than I care to have been in, and some of them are um, could easily have been held, or could easily have been satisfied with a short phone call or maybe an email. And the particular person likes to drive. She's a driver. So there's no room for small talk. There's no room for getting to know people. There's no, it's like straight to the business, straight to the business. And many of the other people that I've been in the meetings with find that to be a little unnerving, because how can you collaborate and share ideas if one person's agenda is kind of set the tone for the meeting? So this
And a
has kind of
negative
been
tone, right?
and a very negative tone. It's like, I'm here to get things done. I'm not here for chit chat and small talk. And, that may not be your style. That may be, you need, especially in these virtual environments, you need to have some human element, some sense of, um, we're all here to succeed first, before we get into the business at hand. But in almost every meeting, this person kind of overruns people, very driving personality. That's just been my experience in many of the meetings, and since we have to work together, it's kind of a little bit unavoidable. And she knows, that's the thing about it. She's even admitting it. It's like, I know I'm a hard driver. And I'm like, well, you know that, but does that make it okay? Does it mean that it's okay for you to be this way? And that's kind of the kinds of experience I've had.
I find that energy often off-putting to me.
Hmm.
It really makes me want to back away from that person. It
Hmm.
really makes me not trust that person.
Right.
On the other hand, there are people who are like, yes, let's get in it. Let's go straight to the jugular. Let's go
Hmm.
right to the business and so on and so forth. And I always think, wow,
Hmm.
how do you get there? Is something wrong with me?
Yeah.
Because I, I I don't even want to be that person. Yeah, I want to be productive, but I
Right.
don't want to be so productive that I'm a robot. Or I look at other people like they're just productivity machines.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't. And people who know me will recognize real quickly. And I'll tell you right off the bat. If all you want to do is this thing right here, whatever that thing is, I'm not
Hmm.
your guy. Don't even bring me on the team
Right.
because I love people too much. I really do, and I know that you can't manufacture people.
Right.
You Dr. Kobe said this many years ago. I'll never forget it. Um, you don't manage or supervise people. You lead them.
Right.
You manage and supervise systems, techniques, strategies, all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
people have to be led. And I thought, okay, I got to dig. That's when I started digging into leadership. And I'm gonna tell you a quick story. Then I'm gonna continue this party. When I was going through my army training, we were doing some infantry training, and I was the squad leader for the day. And when you're the squad leader of an infantry unit, you direct the movement of the unit. That's your job. And so our assignment in training was to strategically, basically do some reconnaissance, which means creep up on the enemy and figure out what they're up to, and then report back to higher authorities what they're doing. I was leading my team, so when you're on a reconnaissance mission, it's usually at night. It's usually dark. It's quiet. You have to do everything silently, and so it's all about being quiet. So here we are creeping through the woods, all camouflaged up, and in covered in all kinds of gear and all kind of heavy equipment carrying along with us and stuff like that. We're sneaking through the woods. We're on this pretend reconnaissance mission, and little beknownst to me, one of my team members was told to act like he had combat fatigue and then start freaking out and making a whole bunch of noise and yelling and screaming and crying and complaining and moaning and groaning in the middle of the mission. So I did not know. I thought the leadership mission was to do what we're supposed to do, but the actual leadership mission in that time was to take care of this soldier who had succumbed to, but not me. I'm driven. I'm focused on the mission at hand, and so he had already compromised our position and already was loud and obnoxious, and so I turned around and I shot him. Right
Yeah.
now, I got an A for decisiveness.
Yeah.
I got an A for strategic thinking and blah 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 blah. But I failed in compassion,
Mm-hmm.
and I was not supposed to fail in compassion,
Exactly.
right? Because I was thinking mission first and only, and it was then that it dawned on me. At the time, there was a process that I was supposed to go through that would involve not just the mission but the people, and that's what's expected. That's what's expected as a leader of soldiers, airmen, Marines in the military. You're expected to not just lead and accomplish the mission. You're expected to understand and be compassionate about the people that you lead. I was like, oh wow, I gotta learn that thing, because the compassion was not in my mind. It was about we gonna fail this mission, and this fool was gonna make me fail this mission. He gotta go. So when you deal with leaders that are like that, or people that are like that, they want to have a meeting with you and talk to you, and they only got one agenda in their mind, and that's to get this thing accomplished. Well, if you don't have feelings, I'm sure that works well for you.
Right.
And if you don't want to be considered a person, that just might work well for you too.
I think that's where the why question comes in.
Right.
So, because leaders, numerous times, I can remember just being in leadership meetings. And if you're at a level of leadership where you're talking to, senior leadership is about strategy, and this is where we need to go. And you're basically communicating that back down, and you're letting people know, okay, things have shifted. We have to go this direction now. And everyone else hadn't even thought about that direction. And you're thinking, okay, we have to go. And they're thinking, hold up. You just said we're going this way. Now we're going this way. I didn't plan for that way, and so you're dealing with all those emotions. But somebody just has to say, why are we doing it? Because people don't, even in email, I mean, people don't have context why they're receiving the message. And they don't question why they're receiving a message, because they're afraid that someone with a certain title is not going to respect them, when they should ask the question, why? Because then the leader should be able to explain, hey, this is why we're going, this is where we're headed, this is why we're going. And that, to your point, Coach Powell, that's where the compassion piece gets satisfied, because now people can raise their concerns, and you got to go ahead and address it and say, okay, who can make it, who can't make it, who can help the person that can make it, but we have to go type thing, type conversation. So yeah, it's a tough situation.
That's exactly why I brought that authenticity into the training I was talking to you about earlier, is because oftentimes we think we're doing something, but we're actually doing something else. Mm-hmm. But we haven't had the benefit of the why conversation, because in this case, my training officers purposefully set me up for failure, to see how I would act under the pressure of that failure. I didn't get the lesson immediately, because I was so mad at receiving the grades I was receiving. And this one piece, like I blew it out the park with everything else, but compassion, I didn't know we were talking about that. I didn't know that was a part of this mission. Why are we here? Ethical behavior. What does it have to do with, accomplishing this mission? And I think sometimes when people are D personalities or A personalities or whatever personality you want to call them, right, whatever box you want to put them in, people who are driven sometimes to the objective often don't take the time don't know how to smell the roses, enjoy the people around them, get to know people, and then get to earn their trust because they know. If somebody hasn't ever asked me about myself and they're trying to have a meeting with me about something, I'm less likely to give them the trust that they obviously want because they're not willing to extend even an open mind and an open heart to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if
Yeah,
they're not
see,
taking the time, they don't they think they see me,
yeah,
but unless I give them what they need to actually see me, I know that they don't see me.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm like most of the people that I know who are coming from the small women-owned, minority-owned business, there's two sides of me that you need to understand if you're truly going to know me.
mhm.
All right, there's the professional business, buttoned up, tied up, lined up. You know, that's the person, and then there's the father, the husband, the black man in our society. I, I carry all those roles. You want to know me? You're gonna have to do a little bit more than just what the professional thing is. Now that gets you to the other question: assimilation. There are many places in our lives and in our businesses where we're expected to just belong, just get along, just go with the flow. How do we feel when where the flow is going, we know we don't fit, and we're not in this. But this is going to be a temporary thing. This we just in it for a minute because we got to get this thing done, whatever it is we're trying to get done in our lives, and we're making a sacrifice. How does that feel? Does anybody had to make that sacrifice in the past?
Or can is sacrifice a good word? Can we say tolerate?
What do you want to say?
Tolerate,
I love it. Let's go with
because
tolerance.
you might have to tolerate a circumstance that's that you're facing
Hmm.
to move to the next level, to make progress, whatever it may be. Um,
I feel you, but what happens when the person that you were tolerating wants to come at you after you've already, won or did gotten done whatever you need to get done? The program is over, the process is over, whatever that is, and that person wants to come back and say, "Well, I literally love working with Henry. He was on my team. He's my boy. I love Henry. Let's go. Let's do it again, Henry."
yeah. So a couple of things in that sort of during that experience, the lesson or what I learned during the experience is who you are. So that's just personal information for me. Then I get to decide, do I want to continue dealing with who you are? And so it's not about, I'm on your team. It's not about I'm getting a check. It's about, do I want to deal with who you are going forward? And if I don't, then I'm making some other decisions.
To tolerate again, or now is it a sacrifice?
Oh no! Well, I'm probably going to be making I'm working on my exit strategy. I'll tell you that.
Or
I feel
I can say, and for me, I guess I've had the experience since my first management role, which was actually my junior year of college. So, but what I had to figure out, and what I teach now to my clients going through situations right now, sometimes in life you have to figure out where you are to put up a tent or build a house. And
Mm,
so, if you're putting up a tent, understand the wind is going to shake that tent more than it shakes a house. You're going to hear more noise in the tent than you hear in a house. The tent might take on water compared to a house. So I just kind of make them kind of make it make sense. And like Brother Hunter says, what is your extra strategy? Is it taking night classes to get another degree? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Are you going to cut your lunch down, take lunch every day? I mean, literally break it down to: are you taking lunch? Are you making sure you use your vacation time up? Are you making sure? So I always tell them to break it down to the last tiny piece of fiber, to where now you can make that sacrifice, as Brother Henry said, make that sacrifice compared to tolerate. Because sacrifice is a on your literally on your calendar countdown. I'm already applying. Look elsewhere. I'm already looking elsewhere. I got this other certification will be done in 90 more days. So literally on my calendar. Because one thing you have to keep in this world that you might get a price on is your peace. So many people give up their peace. That's all you actually own is your peace. You don't own these
Right.
houses, these cars. So once you lose your peace, you're in trouble.
And
My girl Nancy's out there. Go ahead.
oh no, so you don't want to be tolerated, you want to be celebrated. That's what they say.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's what I want. You know,
Yeah.
and at this point in my age, I have to say it's only because of my age. What I am willing to tolerate without that celebration is like zero. You know, somebody brings me some energy that I don't appreciate, that I don't like, they're going to hear it right now. And I don't care who they are. I don't care what they offer, what they bring to the table, because it's not worth it to me to diminish any parts of what I think I have grown into,
Mhm.
or feel like that. You know, I have to make a sacrifice or even tolerate. I mean, I love the juxtaposition of those two words. Thank you for bringing that into the world, Henry, because they are different.
Right.
You know, I look at it as anytime I have to, if I'm doing it over and over and over again, now I'm feeling a sacrifice. Right? That's how I am. If I'm tolerating it over and over and over and over again, and now I'm like, oh, is this something? And I only sacrifice to that to which I worship.
Yeah, yeah. And how you kind of monitor that, in my opinion, is that if your energy has to change, then you're starting to go into another level of tolerate or put up with. If your energy changes, then at that point, be in a place in life where you can just walk away, and thank you very much, because that's one thing. I think that's the benefit to, the entrepreneurial game, the benefit to, being a business owner, the benefit to those things in life, because now you can just literally have a true smile, not a fake smile, but a true smile, and about face. and keep your piece in your pocket and walk out, because
Amen.
life is going to always challenge you, but it's a difference in challenging, tolerating, putting up with. That's a whole different, three different conversations. I think just
Yes.
that matter of fact, yeah.
Nancy's a friend of mine, just a brilliant, empathetic soul. She's just a great person, and I love working with her. Love talking to her. And she says, give you sort of heads up, Henry. She loved your example, and how you brought that to the table. But she also shared this with us. When it came to my story, she said, you know what? She would have made the same decision I made to protect the lives of the other troops that were with us, and that's exactly what I was thinking. It's like, you put us all in compromise, you put us all in risk. You got to go. I'm gonna shoot you now. No, I'm not gonna bind and gag you and figure out how to assign somebody to you and carry on the mission. That's what they wanted me to do. They wanted me to think like that. But for me, I was like, you just compromised the whole mission. The mission is over. I got a new mission now, and this is shut you down and survive this opportunity to get everybody else back to, where they got to go. And
Exactly.
Of course, that's not what we would want any of our officers to do in the same situation. All right. But in the heat of the moment, I'm thinking about everybody. I'm not just thinking about, including myself, by the way, I'm not just thinking about that person who is compromised the mission and put us all at risk and all in danger. But that was my excuse. That was my emotional excuse for not being empathetic and compassionate. And I see leaders do this all the time, and they go, well, I got my eyes on the prize. I'm focused on the game. I'm keeping it real. And I've heard all this language, which is just an excuse for not considering others.
Yeah.
And there's no way to put it that I know of. Maybe you guys know some other ways, that some other language to put it on, because now you're just being inconsiderate. That's what you're doing. You're not leading, right? You're just being inconsiderate. And you're expecting me to tolerate it. And I'm going to tolerate it because, for whatever reason, it's compelling to me, or for the moment. I know I'm not going to be in this for the long game, but is that how you want people to be with you? Is that how you want people when people say, I'm gonna have a meeting with Henry or Chris or whatever? Well, do I want people to go, oh God, I gotta have a meeting with her or him? Oh my God, I don't want to do it. Do you want them to, or do you want them to be enthusiastic about? Oh my God, I get to meet with. I can't wait for our next meeting. And that's what we're talking about. How do we get to that level where people just love just being around us? Of course, they're going to get the work done. But if they don't love being around you, then they're either tolerating it or sacrificing it. And you might get the work done, you might get the job done, but you won't be able to do it again. Right? And so what is the big word in corporations right now? Recidivism. How do we get people to get on board and stay on board? Well, obviously we can't if we don't respect them in the first place, if we don't listen to them in the first place, if we don't accept them in the first place, if we don't invite them and be ignited by them in the first place, then it's going to be difficult for us to have them stay.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I can say that to add to that because it's actually pretty funny to me because there's more. I find myself teaching people more common sense than anything else. And then also too, they've took out critical thinking out of universities back in the late mid '90s, and so I want because I have people bring me in and say, we're going to talk about, diversity, or we're going to talk about. So I'm in a room full of people who look nothing like me. And so I always start out with a punch right in the face, and it works for me. Okay, guys, this is not pick one person in the room, most likely the CEO or the person in charge. Okay, this scenario, your whole life, you've been given things, and then you realize after 18, 19 years, 20 years, everything you told was a lie, and nobody's accountable. They look at me like, oh, yeah, I'd be mad. Colonial education. Then they just stop. Then they stop looking at the room, and then like, oh, okay, let's dance. And then I dance with them for 2 or 3 hours. But the point is, I find myself, and I teach people, executives, if you tell me that you don't like me, but this project got to get done, I actually have more respect for you. Because at the end of the day, I don't need you to like me. I'm going to demand respect, but like is a whole nother conversation.
Right.
Because that's when we get caught up in these feelings. I don't need you to feel me. I need you to listen to me. It's like when I teach, I hang my hat on. My 2 PowerPoints when I teach is communication and leadership. Because one thing when I teach people hearing in America, because the world and it's moved so fast in America, fast-paced life, we tend to have heard instead of hearing. Well, the issue with heard is on that way to work in the morning, I spilled coffee on my best pair of pants. My kid was sick. My dog pooped on my shoe. That's encompassing in the heard conversation. So in other words, not in hear what you said because I heard what you said because I layered it on top of my day. So I teach them, the pausing, the thinking, looking at the person, taking a deep breath, and then asking, so I heard you say, or did you mean? And that works when I teach couples. It's amazing. Most of them are on the floor laughing. They're like, oh my God, I thought she was telling me I was fat or I was stupid. They're like, no, that's because you layered it on top of my kid's sick, my kid had a bad day, the stupid teacher, I got a ticket coming to work today, I burnt my food. And now you're sitting, you take it on top of us. So yeah, it's and that's why I love it. I think earlier, back a couple of questions ago, I think Mrs. Powell was saying that I like people like that. When I go to meet with someone and they're just ready to fight, I love it. Because for me, I turn on 2 things. I switch their whole conversation. I look across the room and I teach people this. Oh, wow. So how many did you catch? What do you mean? Well, there's a pair of muddy boots in the corner with a picture of a fishing pole with your kids on the wall, and it hadn't rained in this area here in about 3, 4, or 5 weeks. So how many fish you catch? Oh, then you see that wall coming down. Oh, this person, he just called me a human being. He just called me a human. And then you start talking. So, so that's how, or I start this German guy taught me this years ago, or I hit him with the body language. This is a scary thing. I'm a research junkie. 91.7% is nonverbal. So I say nothing And then I start getting them in the position. I move here. I move here.
Right.
I lean forward. They lean forward. I'm handling that. And then they start mimicking me. And then I start
Yes.
going to the meeting. And for me, it's amazing how much that anger or that tension is either dispersed or it's either diminished a bit, enough to where we can communicate now.
So
So,
you're
yeah,
not supposed to use neuroscience as a weapon.
Yes.
You know, just because you know, again, just because you know how to beat somebody at their own game, don't mean you need to do that with them. You know, you're just wrong. But I like it. I like it a lot.
Very good.
People think we don't know neuroscience. Like,
That's right.
You're like, yeah, you say mirroring to them, like, what are you talking about? Ha ha ha.
That's right. That's
See,
right.
I didn't think I obviously am more well read than I thought I was. Because you
That's right.
people don't even know what I'm doing to you right now. I'm using silence against you. It's so funny. You know, all of this is really a love of understanding social intelligence and how it works, emotional intelligence and how it works. And if you don't find yourself in the position where you are equipped with these tools, then you're going to find yourself sad and miserable.
Yes.
Because when I'm meeting with people, I'm having personal meetings with people, and they don't get any of the stuff we talked about today, you know, and it becomes blaringly obvious that, you know, there's a disconnect in their brain from what they think they're experiencing to what they're truly experiencing. And again, like Henry said, at that point, I have a decision to make.
Right.
You know, am I going to try to break you down and make you understand the wisdom and the truth that I'm bringing to the table? Or am I going to leave you to your ignorance and move on to another situation where, you know, there is something meaningful, relevant, and significant to be had?
Yes.
And the beauty of being my agent today is I recognize I have that power.
Exactly.
To say no, yay or nay.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm very clear. I let my yays, my nays be my nays and my yays be my yays.
Yeah.
You know, so and people know if I'm in, I'm all the way in. I'm not half-hearted. I'm not partially. I'm not sort of. If I'm out, I'm all the way out. You cannot win me back once I have made that decision. Let it go.
Yeah.
Because what we had. It's over now.
That's right.
Don't let your soul or spirit darken my doorstep ever again.
That's it.
Or
That's it.
you're gonna, because I already told you why. I'm not gonna leave you in the dark. I'm gonna tell you why we are parting.
That's right. That's
You
right.
know,
Yeah.
I'm because you know I'm gonna give you the respect of letting you know.
That's right. That's
This
right.
is how you screwed the pooch with me. This is what you said. This is what you did that got you in the problem, and I have now put you in this particular category. I may even give you a way out. I may even give you a graceful way or back into my good graces. But if I don't think you can do it, I may not even give you that. But I am going to tell you what happened. Anybody ever had to have a breakup with somebody that they thought was, you know, in it to win it with you, but all of a sudden, you realize, oh, wait a minute, this is not what I needed to be. I got to go. Professionally. I mean professionally. Nope.
Now, alternatively, with the same person, because I knew we were going to be working together and we needed to be, you know, on the same page and civil with one another, I invited this lady to lunch, and we had lunch and had a great conversation, and everything after that was fantastic. I mean, I can't, you know, she was still who she was in our meetings, and she was still about business, but, you know, things weren't as difficult after a face-to-face meeting, and we had only met virtually, so we didn't have the benefit of meeting each other in person prior to working together in this environment. So
do you think maybe she learned that she probably can't turn that energy on with you and be effective, and so she decided not to?
Yeah, well, and not only that, you know, she invited me to lead parts of the meeting. she would, it was difficult for her. I could tell because she kept jumping in to, take over. But,
Right.
ultimately, it was still good. It wasn't, there were no negative, harsh feelings, and it was a very stressful project we were working on. So I could understand, what she was going through, but I'm not that deep about work. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I
Right.
I do not take this stuff home with me. When I shut this down, it's shut down and I'm
Right.
on to the rest of my life. I'm not worried about what you're doing and what you think about me after hours. So that's kind of, that I keep the professional relationship professional, after, a certain point you realize this stuff is, it's all going to be different,
Right.
maybe a year from now. There'll be different
True.
people. They may have decided to cancel the project that you stressed out about, for 6 months, working so hard to make sure it was just so. And both of us are today's both of us our last day working on this project as consultants. So, who knows what it's going to look like a year from now, and you will have spent all that energy and
Right.
anguish,
Right.
but the professional relationship will carry on beyond this assignment. So, you have to be a people. You have to deal with people where they're at. And I thought, let's go to lunch and just be human beings, to one another, and then we can work together fine. And that's just, I think that was a big answer to my problem with her. I haven't had any stressful issues since we had that meeting. So
You said a mouthful
yeah,
in that very, very short span of, I'm like, wait a minute.
thank you.
What you just said was you have to allow people to show up
Hmm.
in a personal meeting. If there's
Yeah.
ever going to be any understanding,
Hmm.
that person has to feel like they actually were allowed to show up
Right.
Correct.
with you. If
Right.
that person doesn't feel like they were actually allowed to show up, and you don't feel like you were actually allowed to show up, then whatever tension that there was is going to continue.
Right.
Once people are allowed to show up, then that tension might actually be alleviated to a certain degree. And then
Hmm.
Yeah.
you said something else, which I have to say, I knew you were a genius. I know you were. I already told people, but it's true.
Wow.
If you can look forward
Hmm.
into the why of this thing
Right.
and the meaning of this thing, find that relevance, that significance, then you know where how to act
Hmm.
about it.
Right.
You know it can be pulled out, the rug can be pulled out from under you at any moment now, and there's really real evidence to suggest that that's possible.
Hmm.
Then why allow it to affect you so that you got to be stressed out about it and worried and concerned, and it's all messing up your sleep,
Right.
messing up your other relationships and all that kind of stuff? Why are you doing that to yourself? That's a choice.
Mm.
Yeah.
That is a choice.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's relative. One thing you got to understand too, that we got to, that word choice is a big thing, because it also encompasses fear. It also encompasses, your past, and because our brain works the way they work, we can bring up our past hurts. You can bring up a hurt from a relationship in college, and you're with for be 40, 50 years old. Like, wait a minute, how come this guy just pulled this? I didn't know this trigger was still there. I was doing a company in California, so I walked in the room, did this leadership development meeting and workshop, and I walked in there, and the CEO, like, this one guy in the corner over there, he don't want to be here. He's one of my best performers as far as on a matrix, but he doesn't like trainers. He doesn't like anybody doing tell him anything. He said he's going to be your guy to get a hard time. So for me, my brain said, let's dance, because I switched over the whole conversation. I started out the first half hour. He was my heckler. He was wearing me out. I'm like, okay, let me get this young man. Before the meeting's over, he was standing and applauded. He told the CEO, this is the best trainer ever. Oh my God, this is the best. And the CEO he looked at me like, how did you do that? I said, I am a grown man in my profession. So he said, this guy with 11 years, he's never had any part about a trainer. All I did was let me make him think he's running the meeting. Let me use him as examples. I would say, Peter, now I know you already noticed already, but so we've talked about this. I know you already been there and done that, but so how would you handle? You know what I was talking about. But his brain, I do a lot of work also with lumosity. His brain not gonna let him think he's simple, so he's gonna dance. And because he's a person that's controlling the other C-suite people in the room, I had to get him to dance with me. Otherwise, the whole room would have been lost. So 3.5 hours later, he's dancing with me cheek to cheek, and the room got what they needed. And I got called back again for a CEO again and referred out. Because it doesn't matter who's in charge. Check our ego at the door, mine included. Because people need to get what they need. And if I got to dance with you for this 3.5 hours to make you think that you're important, they get what they need.
Mm-hmm.
So neuroscience, again, illegal move, throw the red flag, but it works.
No.
It works. It works.
You can't control the game if you don't know the game.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And so you know the game, and the people that they hire you to play, they don't understand anything that you understand when it comes to this, and that's your job to bring that out, to bring the best of them out, and help them bring the best of them out. And you see the methodology, the strategy to do that. So let's use it. Of course, you and I could joke about it, about his legal flag on the play, that kind of stuff. But in reality, it's the right move to make.
That's right. Because they need to get what they need. And no sense to me letting them shake me up, throw me off my game. Now they're meaning, I told you the train was no good. So he wins in the conversation. But at the same time, when the way I treated him, he still won because he felt important. But the team got what they needed. So it was still a win-win.
I always go into personal meetings with people, no matter what it is. I always go into personal meetings with, understanding to the best of my ability why I love them.
Yes.
All right. And I really, really want to make that clear, why I love them. Because when they recognize that there's nothing to fear.
Yes.
When they recognize that there's nothing for them to worry about, there's nobody wants to take advantage of them. Nobody wants to, somehow move them on an agenda that they're not ready for, or whatever that is. Once they feel that way, then their heart is open, their mind is open, everything is open. And it's like Peter Pan for me, not Peter Pan, who's the Pied Piper, right? Yeah. To me, it's like, they all fall in love with me.
Exactly.
Because I had the willingness and the ability to fall in love with them first.
That's right.
Just give them the attention. And there's a reason why paying attention is 2 words. It's not one word, it's 2 words. You pay. It's an extension of a gift that you're willing to share. It's an extension of a grace that you're willing to share to another person, to pay attention to them. And if you don't pay attention to them, you're kind of robbing them of the opportunity to actually show up.
That's right.
This is exactly what you did to that young man.
Yeah.
You paid attention.
Yeah.
You forced him to engage, not just with you, but with himself.
Exactly.
And he saw something in himself that made him feel great about himself. And so therefore he felt great about you. The extension of the love that you shared with him by paying attention to him, he felt, and then it extended to the rest of the room.
Yeah, because he wanted to fight, and I hugged him for 3 hours. I hugged him, but he wanted to fight.
Exactly.
People can't resist a hug.
They can't. They can't. And I think, it took me years to figure this out, but because you heard about it all our lives. We all been told there's nothing more powerful than love.
Yeah.
We all heard about it. Everybody told us. We heard it in church. We heard it in family meetings. He's like, love is the most powerful force in the universe. Exactly. How many times have we heard it? But where does it show up practically?
We don't believe it.
Right? And it's how do you believe it if it never shows up?
That's
practically.
Right. That's right. You bring it with you.
When I work with personal, and that's what this, personal meetings, it's all about making sure people understand that I wouldn't meet with you if I didn't love you.
That's right.
I wouldn't spend any time with you if I didn't love you. If I didn't care about you to some level, then there would be no extension of my attention that I would be willing to pay to you.
Yes. Because
I value it. So we're going to talk about these things. We're going to talk about what I value when it comes to my time and why I'm paying attention to you in this moment. And we're also going to talk about what I hope that I'm going to be able to do, we're going to be able to do, be, or have as a result of this time together. Because if not, then we just had a fun time.
That's right.
And I'm not in it just for a fun time.
Exactly.
I want to have fun. Trust me.
Yeah.
I'm with Chris on this one. I want the adoration. I want the love. I want the acceptance. I want all that. And I'm willing to give all that.
Yeah.
Because I know in order to get that, I have to give that.
Yeah. And that's one thing. That's why when I teach people, the networking conversation, a networking event, you need to get an average of 25 business cards. You need to email and call them. Add them to your email list so they don't go to the junk file. Check your junk file, respond. And of course, the new thing since 2017, you invite them to coffee, not lunch, because lunch will cost you an arm and a leg. Coffee could cost you $6 to $10. So you got to think about your budget, but then also too, like I said, like question before, have 2 to 3 questions when you meet them for coffee or lunch. Why do you do what you do? Why you don't like what you do? Why are you still there? Have those conversations so you can make people feel important, because the benefit to you get to know how you can get into their company. You get to know how you might be able to get them connected with another person, and you come to connector. But the point is, a networking event, you see somebody you have a clock on your phone, you put 3-minute alarm on your phone. I cannot be with Chris for 3 because I've known Chris for 10 years. So my phone buzzes, that tell me to move on across the networking room, the event. Again, 25 cards. I stop halfway over it. Folks, we close in a half hour. I'm going to the corner, checking my pockets. I got 15 cards. I got to get 10 cards in 30 minutes. Now I'm going back out to the room. How you doing? You got a card? But how you doing? Got a card? Literally. And then next day, making those 50 because it's a phone call and an email, and I made 50 contacts. And the average, of course, is going to be probably 3 to 7 to 10% actually respond to you. And then you're going to have, again, the same thing. 50% of that 7% is going to actually take you up on your coffee offer. But the point is, now you've made that networking event valuable to you, because 2 things happen. You've learned, or you've gained some more business, or you've gained knowledge.
I love a good system.
Yes.
I love a good strategy. I love a good process, right? Because a process is something that you can measure every iteration of it along the way and decide, okay, you can tweak it. You can be like, okay, I need to do more of this or less of that. I can do more of this or less of that. And I think people sometimes have a problem with process, especially creatives, right?
Yes.
Have a hard time with process because they think in a different way.
Yes.
They think that, the result is what they're doing. And it's not an understanding of the basics that comes along with it. And it's like, wow, it's just different for everybody.
Yes.
I always tell people when it comes to networking, be strategic.
Yes.
Identify the top 3 people that you want to talk to.
Exactly.
Before you get there.
Yeah, exactly right.
And then don't walk out unless you talk to those top 3 people.
Yes.
Don't miss this opportunity, because it's so easy to get swept up in a moment, right? It's so easy to get swept up in the food is great and the drinks are flowing and, whatever's happening is happening. And you get off your agenda real quick, but if you make it just specific, most likely these top 3 people right there, these people are going to be there early, by the way.
Yes.
So you can get there early,
exactly,
knock it out, and then have fun the rest of the night and not even think about it anymore.
Exactly.
But then again, there's always a process. There's always a strategy. Going in just I'm gonna be me. That ain't a win. That's not a winning strategy. Right. That's not a winning process at all. It just means you have put no forethought into this. And I go in thinking I'm gonna make these 3 people fall in love with me tonight. Yes. Today, this afternoon, on this teleconference, whatever, they're going to fall in love with me.
That's right.
And I will know they fell in love with me because they're going to ask me a question that's going to engage me in a way that's going to allow me to follow up the way I need to follow up with them specifically.
Yes.
Now, if I try that with 25 people, of course, my brain can't handle it. My introvert heart will just blow up.
Yeah.
Because that's just too many people for me.
Yeah. Did you just say you were an introvert?
Hey, it's in the science. It's not in the actual application.
I got you.
Because how they say when the introverts, they would get energy from this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. To me, I'm giving out so much energy, I'm gonna need a drink afterwards.
See, that's right. See, I'm an extreme extrovert, so I'm opposite. I had to have people to live. So I just when the pandemic, I just had to go out. I had to go out and just let me walk through the mall for a minute. I just had because it's like you start to the walls closing in. But we actually all are both. Just one's dominant.
I'm on the spectrum. I'm like right in the middle. So
you call it an ambivert. You're neither an introvert or an extrovert. You're an ambivert.
I'm gonna put on a trained house coat and wrap myself up and go sit in front of some TV with a glass of wine.
I'm a trained extrovert. I can do the extrovert thing.
Yeah, trained.
But I am actually an introvert, which means that doesn't feel good to me. I'll do it, but and I'll give myself a pat on the back. Oh, you got 15, 25 business cards. Yeah. That's more than the 3 that you want. That's a bonus for me. It isn't even beyond 3 is a bonus. Anything less, anything, but it won't be a failure to me if I got beyond 3. Right? Nancy said this. I love this. She says it's called overcompensating. It's very, very important, I think, that though, whatever we do, however we do it, to have a process, to have a well understood, well thought through, well process that we can engage in and then measure and then notice the growth within ourselves. As we do it. Because if you don't take the time for reflection, right, then even if you're growing, you won't know you're growing.
That's right.
So you got to take a lot. I love my extroverts because a lot of times they're just boom, 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 go, 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 and they're out there, right? And they need to learn from my introverts, right? Like, take a minute, take a step back. Let's see what you've done. Let's see where you are in reality, really.
That's right.
Right? Not what you fake, not what you believe it to be, but what it really is, right?
That's right.
And then let's make the next move from a position of strength. Versus, I got to keep moving because I love moving.
That's right. That's right.
So it's just fun stuff, talking to all kinds of different people, all kinds of different walks of life. And more importantly, though, I think for the minority community specifically, is we got a lot of baggage that we have to get over.
Yeah.
And we have to figure out how to get over it. It's not about just saying, okay, just do what Nike said and just do it. No, you have to engage in a process of uncovering and discovering the things that have been holding you back, that are internal to your community, so to speak, or internal to your connection as a woman, as a minority, as whatever it is. The minute you can uncover that thing and then face it, right, is the minute you can start having those breakthroughs.
That's right.
Those minutes you can start having those moments where you're not in your own box. Holding yourself back.
That's right.
I really can't stand that when I get in meetings. People say, "Well, why do they do this? Why don't they know they're holding themselves back?" I'm like, time out.
Yeah.
You don't know the road that somebody else has traveled.
Yeah.
Or the pain and suffering and anguish they've had to experience. You don't know.
That's right.
You sitting here looking at it from the cheap seats or the expensive seats, no matter how you look at it. You're sitting there looking at it from and you're othering them. And there's no way for them to even break out of what you're doing to them unless you invite them in and help them and enjoy their presence. Absolutely. And not try to force them to be what you want them to be, because then they'll shut down and they won't even give you what they can give you.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Exactly right.
So this is old man talking. Just trying to help these children.
Season, man. Season. It's different than old and season.
Yeah, season. Season is the word.
Listen, I'm gonna
have to make a run for it and wrap it up on my
great to meet you
and say my farewells to all of my colleagues and friends. It was fantastic meeting you, and awesome. Hey, our paths will cross again soon.
Yes.
I declare.
God bless you, sis.
Awesome. God bless you. God bless you back. Take care.
Yeah. All right.
So, there it is. This is the show. And we're going to end the show. If we don't have any questions from the audience, we're going to go ahead and end the show. If you got a second, Brother Bond, I'd love for you to hang out backstage for a second.
Yes.
Any of our other guest speakers, if you want to hang out backstage, that'd be great. Just want to do a little feedback. And there's something else going on here. I'll make sure I got it. Yep, we got it. all the private chat stuff has been posted. Everything you
Okay.
need to share has been posted and shared. So that's great. Guys, this was amazing. This is another amazing show. It's in the book. I'm so glad we did this. Hope you had a great time. Come back next week. Next week, we're going to take it to the next level. Now that you know how to have great personal meetings with each other, what do you do next?
Yes.
And that's what it's all about. Making sure that you can continue the relationship, make sure you can develop a strategy, making sure that you can grow intellectually with each other, and now you can start moving into teams that we're going to be talking about in the next couple of weeks. How do you get the team going? Now you got individuals going. How do you pull them together and really create a team?
Amen.
All right, guys. See you later in the broadcast. And